Intel just delivered a shock to the system. After years of struggling to find its footing, the Silicon Valley original just dropped a massive Q4 earnings beat, nearly doubling analyst expectations for profit. But don't start celebration, as shares have cleared over 15% in a single day because management dropped a Q1 earning that caught Wall Street completely off guard. Now, is this a buy the dip opportunity for the 18A manufacturing revolution, or a sign that the turnaround is stalling? Let's dive into the data. Before we break down Intel, I have a goal for our community. If this video manages to get 500 likes, I will do a dedicated 1-hour business analysis of Intel's full patent portfolio and a deep dive into the 14A node roadmap to 2028. So smash that like button right now and comment Intel 2026 below to unlock that masterclass. First of all, let's look at the numbers that should have sent the stock to the moon. First of all, Intel reported Q4 revenue of $13.7 billion and adjusted EPS of 15 cents, smashing the 8-cent estimates. We have the data center and AI boom, which grew over 9% year over year to $4.7 billion, and demand for server CPUs is surging as companies build out agentic AI systems. Intel as well returned to non-GAAP profitability for the full year of 2025, posting an EPS of 42 cents, which is a massive recovery from the losses of 2024. But the real legend is the 18A manufacturing revolution, as this is a real legend that is awakening, and is a process that Intel has very high hopes of. First of all, on January 5th of 2026, Intel's A18A node officially hit high volume status in Arizona. First of all, we do have rumors that are swirling that Apple has contracted Intel to manufacture entry-level iPad and MacBook silicon on the 18AP process. This would be the first time that Apple has used Intel's foundries for its own proprietary architecture. As well, the new Panther Lake chips built on 18A are reportedly delivering a staggering 27-hour battery life, and Intel is finally closing the gap with Taiwan semiconductors. So with all this positive news, why did the stock just drop 15%? Well, because Q1 looks like a disaster on paper. Intel guided on Q1 revenue of $12.2 billion and an adjusted EPS of exactly 0 cents. Analysts were expecting 5 cents on the EPS. As well, CFO David Zinsner admitted that available supply will be at its lowest point in Q1, as they are prioritizing high-end data center wafers over the client PC markets, which is hurting short-term revenue. Now, despite the process, the foundry segment reported a massive $2.5 billion operating loss in Q4, and it's knowing that ramping up new fabs is expensive, and it's eating every dollar of profit that Intel makes elsewhere. So first of all, now let's look at the technical analysis of the chart and the exact entry points that Wall Street is looking out for on Intel. As you guys can see, we're on a daily time frame here of Intel, and what I really want to acknowledge here before we get into the current price data is that we have to factor in this swing high anchored VWAP that was formed here in January 2024, almost 2 years ago. This high was very, very important, and we factored in this high because this was the initiation of the downward trend here of Intel that lasted, several couple of years here. And the reason to that is that prior to this swing high, we were trending up as we had higher highs, higher lows, until the trend was unfortunately broken around the break of these general zones. And that is what triggered the extreme sell-off. Now, every single time that the price tried to rally up and break above, we found resistance exactly there. Same thing that happened there and here. And then if we zoom in even more, each time it happened here as well and here, up until we saw an extreme break above the price action here when President Trump initiated a coverage here on the stock and was having, pretty much positive confluence with the news. And this exact moment was a level to buy Intel because it was finally above this very important area of resistance that lasted, ever since 2024, and it was broken here in 2025, so it lasted a year. So this area was a very important level to break, and the buyers finally outweighed the overall supply that was found at that level. Now, particularly here, if we look now at Intel and we plot from that break, right, the average price, we can see that every single pullback that has been happening on Intel has been finding support and buyers here, right? So we had this dip here in November, we had a rally, we had a dip again here in December recently, and that is what triggered the higher selling here, right? So and now what we can do is plot another anchored VWAP from this low, and this is exactly where we are bouncing here on Intel after, its earnings, where they beat, but the stock is down a little bit more than 10% from this high here of 54. So I believe that Intel can further increase, right? But short term, we will find support, I believe, at this zone of $45. If not, then what we can do is plot an anchored view up from this high here and maybe get an even lower low. So we probably get support level at $43. I'll put that as green to signify an area of support. We'll find first area of support to be $45.96, then $43.73, and then if it's even deeper, we'll do $39.31 as areas of support here on Intel. But apart from that, I do see higher momentum on this name. If we zoom out, I did expect here the stock to find, a lot of supply, because this was the prior high that was formed obviously on this date here of $50. So it was, kind of obvious we were going to see a lot of selling, a lot of interest, especially the RSI. Here we can see signaling that the stock was pretty much overbought, did have a lot of momentum. It rallied from $39 towards 54. That's a very big rally, and this indication did show us that it was overbought, and that it was just a matter of time before the sellers would realize this and initiate their very aggressive selling here, just adding supply to the overall stock. But these would be areas of support, and I do still sustain a price target of Intel based here off of the price momentum from, let's say, this swing high to the swing low towards $58. And if it's even extended momentum, I do see the stock achieving $67 here on Intel. Intel is no longer just a struggling chip maker. It's a foundry powerhouse in the making. The Q1 guidance is a painful reset, but the 18A milestone proves that the tech is real. Drop a bull or bear in the comment sections below. Check the like count to achieve that 500 like goal for the hour analysis on Intel's chip foundry. And remember to hit subscribe on the channel, give this video a like, and remember, don't let the markets whip you guys out. I'll see you guys on the next one.